Hey guys, Eric and Ellie again. I haven't made a video in a little bit because I've just been doing some routine things that there's enough videos on, or just, it really isn't all that interesting. But I'm getting back to, I got a Snap-on Modus in a trade. It's an older one, but it was in really good condition. Doesn't look like it was used very much, and I haven't had an opportunity to use it yet. Screen's a little bit dim. It's a common problem on them scopes, or so I've read. But I plugged it in. They have a VGA output. I plugged it in. I got another cart like my other one. I just got a white one. This is just for electronics, diagnostic stuff. I just got a HP monitor, and this can be the first time I'm using it. I'm not very familiar on how to use it at all. I'm just trying to plug it in, make communication, see if I have the right key, the right software, just see what OBD2 looks like. This thing still has, has a scope with it, and the terminals are so new. They still have the plugs in them for the leads. And I'm building some longer ones. The battery I might possibly repair, take it apart. The battery just won't hold a charge. The jumping trick doesn't work. I might take it apart, see what kind of batteries are in there, or just get a new battery. They're about $100, no big deal. But this is one part I'm not very familiar with, is the keys. Now this thing came with a good bit of keys. See, I'm starting to like this card. I know where everything is now. Now it's asking for a key. It came with a good bit of keys. I'm not sure which is which, so I'm going to dig through them. It's asking me to put the key K20 into the switch. I have it plugged into the OBD2. Came with an extension. Came with a lot of good accessories. The whole ignition probe kit. There's a paddle that's in the cart. All the different adapters. So it's going to be fun getting to use this. It's I figured build the cart like this, keep all my electronic stuff, in there, keep all my, heavier tools in the other boxes. But nice to just wheel this up to a car, plug it in, see it on the big screen. Now I can't close the lid with this monitor on it, but I'd like to get one and mount it to the back. I've seen a couple videos, people doing that. That would be good. This one's just too heavy, too old, but I do have two of them, so I might use this for a while. But that kind of works out on the side cart. We'll plug it in, see what happens, see what goes. But the H scope I use, it's always going to be much faster. That's going to be my go-to with a tablet or my phone. For speed. This, what I do like from what I played along with so far with this Modus, is the guided functions, the guided component tests. It's invaluable, the information on there. It's really, you could learn a lot on there. There's classes. I'll show you whenever I come back, but I'm going to make communications with this Honda. There's a lot of these on eBay. If you find one cheap, they're quite intuitive. And plus you get to, kind of follow along with Danner a little bit better. All right, guys, I'll be back after I make communication. I'm going to look for that key K20. So you insert the key into the OBD2 connector. I'm not very familiar with the use of this kind of system, but it came with a good amount of keys for the Asian and imports. But then you plug that into the OBD2, and that's what lets you bought the key for whatever brand you needed it for. So I'm glad it came with it. It's the first try. First car I tried plugging in with it, and I have the key, so I'm happy with that. Hey guys, the screen's a little bit dim on the actual unit itself. It doesn't flicker like that, like it looks like it's coming through on my camera, but hooked up to the big screen, I really like seeing that. And a lot of you guys that use these Snap-on scopes, you might think this is all normal, but to me, I like seeing this graph like that because my Autel just won't do it. This would be great for, something that I'm looking for a bigger problem quicker than the Autel and the 8 scope is always going to be fast. This would be for something that I'm really trying to diagnose a problem that is going to require, a little bit more than just testing the powers and grounds and replacing a sensor. So I like what I see. I'm not sure how to use this or how to change the PIDs, but I know you could You could set trigger levels on any of these PIDs, and I'm not sure how you select your PID, but there's the whole thing illuminates blue once. And it's recording all this up in the buffer too, so that's a pretty long time that this thing goes. You can pause that up top. This is going to be fun learning how to use. I mean, but I'm pretty impressed, you know, to just have a cart like that where I could see if I was over by the engine that I could maneuver the cart and still have a good, you know, good shot at the screen. Even for the graphing meter, everything like that, I mean, it's cool to just wheel the cart over, hook up, and be able to go to town, you know, do all your tests, have all your leads here. As I'm going, I'm moving everything over in here so I don't have to dig around up in the closet, into the cases, getting things out. This is just like one condensed unit that I could hook up to start testing things. Found a pretty cool chair out in the alley too, so it works out pretty good. Push it up there nice and comfortable. Use the modus just with my thumb, and then you're just watching the screen. Pretty cool so far. Alright, like what I see on there. I mean, everything's coming through, it's working. Just testing this out. That's a lot of data in. You can view it in the PID list. 2 graphs. That'd be nice and big if you're only checking, looking for 2 PIDs. I got a good view from, I mean, I'm standing at the driver's seat now. I got a good view of it, so that I like. Or you could have 4, 6, or 8. There's 6. They're pretty good. And the buffer, we have all that buffer left. That's pretty good. I like that too. This is awesome. I'm glad that worked. I want to test the scope a little bit. The screen doesn't flicker like I see it come through my camera, but it is pretty dim. Still view it if you want. I mean, but you know, that's pretty sweet. Now I'm going to just see if the scope works a little bit. There's a couple features on to play around with, and you know, so far I'm pretty happy. Yeah, even scrolling back the data, I kind of like how you could choose how fast your data scrolls. You could stop it, you could pause it. The car shut off now. And I could still, under preview, you could manual scroll with your thumb. You could auto scroll fast, or you could auto scroll slow. If you were looking for something more slow, and turn that on whenever you go. Now your data is scrolling a little bit slower. Stop it and put it back. The fast seems about where you'd want it unless you were really looking for something, because it's really not that fast. That's pretty neat. I like that, being able to recall all the data and still have the graph like that. And I was only that far into the buffer, so you could get like a whole warm-up in that buffer. That's excellent. Okay, here's a couple of the features that make this pretty sweet. I mean, I haven't used them yet, but I really like it. They're there. It has, I mean, it even has how-tos. 10-minute electronics class, 15-minute ignition class, illustrated terms and definitions, no start basics, O2 sensor and feedback system analysis, Snap-on automotive theory, test tips, theory and operation, 20-minute current ramp classes. So I mean, there's a lot of information on here. Just you know, like see what's under test tips for all these. I mean, for graphing AC voltage, it shows you what you know, what a scope pattern would look like. It says when you know, the graphing meter. It says when graphing AC voltage sine wave will not be shown on screen. So you're just going to get that, but it does give you an example. I mean, it gives you for, you know, injector pulse width. Yeah, so it should look like in the scope, and tells you what to do. I mean, it gives you a very good guided path. Parasitic draw tests. I mean, it has a lot of just information built into it. But what's really nice is the guided component test. Because when you go into there, you have all your sensors, like your O2 sensors. If you want to test that, the front component information, it'll tell you about its operation, how it works. So this is a lot of what we look up, what we're looking into the service manual for, what we're looking into the Mitchell and the ALLDATA. This will give you a lot of, it tells you the connector color, what the pin assignment is. If there's any information, it gives you 4 screens and you can move around the screens. If there's any more information, just click it. I really like this part, you know, that it has the locations, it tells you what to do, and then whenever you're done, this is just the information. If you want to actually do the test, like test an O2 sensor, say we're doing the duty cycle, load it up. Now this tells you where to connect the leads. You could click out and make it any more information. It's telling you what you should expect to see. It's showing you the connector. And if you click on that, it'll show you which wire is which. And it already set the scope up for you. It's telling you what to do. It already set the scale. It already set the time. You only need 1 channel. And it's telling you where to connect it. Very fast. Very efficient. I like that. Alright, that's another plus for this thing. Now I'm going to try the scope. I'm just going to do a charging test. Just make sure I get a pattern on the screen. Make sure everything's working. Because like I said, this is the first time I'm using this. And seeing how it goes. And these things they're not just scanners. I mean, they give you some very important information, like under the tests, there's a wire color warning. So I figure I'd click that. Techs in the field have discovered that due to heat, age, and environment, original wire colors may fade. It may be necessary to cut the harness cover back slightly to reveal original wire color. Be careful not to damage the wires. These are the common wire color changes. The original color is white turns to beige, yellow turns to tan, blue turns to green. So that's an important, you know, could be an important piece of information, and it's nice that it was there. If this was on a different car software, I don't know if it would be there, but that's something that a lot of techs have, I mean, mentioned that they added it to the Snap-on side of the software. But there's all the tests. I mean, there's more tests on this than my Autel does, and it's much newer, so you know, kind of like the deal. Under the lab scope, there's many options, many presets, but one reason I like this with the ignition scope, this is what I was mainly interested in the Snap-on for, is that parade. It's like the old Sun machine. I like that. The raster I'm very interested in. That's going to be, I like the way that looks. That's going to be pretty fun. The superimpose, the single cylinder. This has the whole ignition kit with it too, so it's going to do many videos with this. So, you know, there's a lot of videos out there, people know how to use them. I really don't know how to use this. You know, I know how to use the scanner, and I know how to use the scope, you know, decent enough. So this is just, you know, a better piece of equipment than I have been using. and this will be for like the more in-depth. Well, this is gases. I don't have the gas analyzer, but I'm going to just go with the lab scope and do just a simple DC volts. I'm going to just do a charging test. All right, I'm going to hook up the leads. It already opened up the screen for me. I'm going to be good to go. All right, guys, here's one thing with these scopes. I mean, if you've seen them, even Danner talks about them a bit. They use banana jacks. For the ground, they stack them, and for your channels, you use banana jacks. A lot of what I have for my other scopes is BNC connectors, and that's what took me a little bit. There was some confusion. I thought the ends of my BNC, like this, when you look at it, you would think this is the female BNC because it goes over the smaller one like this, but it's the other way around. This is the male, apparently from the inside, and this is the female. So when you look at the other end of the banana jacks, this is the male and it goes into the female. This is the smaller of the two, which you would think is a male. So I ordered two of the opposite ones that came with the same end. So now I got the right ones, but if you do order BNC cables, keep in mind that the smaller one that goes into the bigger one is the female. Alright, and that's a pretty good brand. I found them on eBay, so it was all just waiting a little bit to get the parts. I ordered the wrong ones first, then now I got two of the right ones. So now I could hook up my BNC leads to that, because the Snap-on ones are alright, but they're a little bit short. I did order some wires, some good silicone wires, so we're going to be making cables. I mean, if you're into that kind of stuff, and even possibly repairing the batteries, seeing what kind of batteries are in there, I'm putting some new NiCads in it. You know, going to be doing a lot with this thing. Going to be making our own leads. You know, stick around, help me out if you know what you're doing with these. I'd appreciate the comments. All right, guys. All right, that's how that goes. The banana jack goes in the back, and then I got a BNC plug on it, and that's what's nice about the card. I got back probes in it. You know, and right there I got a couple alligator clamps. Got a lot of things organized that usually I had to dig for over there, or, you know, up in the cupboard, in boxes, in a closet. Now I know where everything is. Very simple to switch over, clamp it on the battery, do a quick test. Alright, I connected the alligator clips. I like using, the reason I went to the BNC with them, from Martin Loren, I got these silicone, the 3-meter wires, so it's plenty of distance from the car you're working on. And being I'm using that screen, you know, it's not really handheld, so that's plenty of room for me to get in there on a chair, sit down, take it easy, see what I got. But what I know right now is that buffer's too fast. We're on a 10 millisecond sweep. And if we're going to do a charging test, we're going to need more time than that. But it got the test lead right. It got the 20 volt scale right. We have everything right there. We're going to want to change this to, we're actually going to want more than 20 seconds, but we're going to see. We're going to see what that does. Yeah, and look how slow the buffer. We could probably actually go down a little bit. We're going to give that a shot, see what happens with it. Alright, now I'm going to just start the car, turn on all the electrical loads, let it run for a minute, and see what our voltage goes down to. pause that. Just make sure I don't lose that little bit. And we're going to just save movie. Add note. Save. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is review. It's manual scroll. Where's the starting button? And there goes John. But now, if we wanted to see how low the voltage went on the starting, we could go to these cursors. And what's kind of got me is there's only vertical cursors. I don't know how to turn on if there is horizontal cursors, but it's telling you the voltage of where you're at. So if we move to where it dropped, it's still telling us the voltage like we were measuring this with a horizontal cursor. So it's just a different way of doing the same thing, I believe. But if you know how to turn on horizontal cursors on this, let me know, because every time I click this, there's no options up here. It's just giving me these vertical ones. But we could see at its lowest point that we could find. Whenever I turned the key, it dropped down to, it was at 12.93. Whenever I turned the key, it went down to 12.61. And whenever the starter engaged, it went down to 10.30. So that even with the scope, that's an incredibly good battery. I mean, these could go down almost 8 volts if you're measuring it with a scope. So that would be, you know, that would definitely pass the cranking test. Further we go down, I mean, you could check the alternator when it kicks in, it's putting out 14 volts. And I'm just moving up here on the cursor. I'm doing it manually. You could have it play as you go. Because what we'll do, we're going to leave the cursors there. The preview, that's where you switch. You could go to auto scroll slow and just watch the whole thing until you see something you like. But I like the manual scroll, so you could find, you know, where you want to be, like you find your event. Get out. Then there we have again the same exact measurement, 1030. So that's pretty neat. The zoom I haven't used yet. Let's see what it does. Okay, it zoomed it 2 times. Don't really see much of a difference in it looks like it might have just zoomed in the time, not the voltage. The voltage out looked the same. If we wanted to see that bigger, I'm not sure how we do that. There might be a way. Zoom out, that would get you. We'll go back to 1 time. Made it slightly bigger, but on the 8 scope, being able to use your fingers and just, you know, zoom in and pinch in and out and pinch out, that's you know, very valuable. This is much more cumbersome, but you know, it's just a different system. There's a learning curve with all of it, and you know, I'm just starting this one. So it's you know, if you follow along, you're going to be seeing both kinds of scopes coming in, coming out. You know, any kind of scope, I got 4 of them. You know, and I like using them all. And this one I'm just learning how to use. I mean, it's all interesting. I like learning how to use different systems. The Snap-on one, I mean, this is so intuitive, some of the features it has. You can check when you turn your headlights on, whenever you're under maximum load, how much You could like zoom back and forth anywhere here in the buffer, and you could check what was actually going on. It's pretty neat. Nothing wrong with this car, but it's just nice hooking up to something, seeing, getting used to it, because whenever you do need it, believe me, you don't want to be learning, you know, what buttons are up here, you know, what buttons are down here, how to set this, how to set that. I like hooking it up to something I know is good already, that you're going to get something that you expect to see. It's just with these Snap-on scopes, they give you a lot more than just a scanner and a lot more than just a scope. You know, not a lot of people are, you know, talk about that. I think it's kind of, you know, you don't know how you think. So a lot of times somebody got the information from looking in the manual, from looking everywhere. I mean, I know I heard you, sometimes you hear Danner say it's not right on his, like, you know, that the wire colors or the pinout wasn't right that comes with the Snap-on. But even for an old scope like this is a 2008 model, but with everything that came with it, you know, it's still a good scanner and it's still a good scope. You know, it does a real simple tests like that. We're going to be doing more and more with it now that I have the adapter to turn it into the BNCs, because that's what all my amp clamps take. That's what my pressure transducer. I mean, we got a lot of things. I want to hook them up with everything I got. You know, it's just fun. It's enjoyable. It's relaxing. And if you got any ideas, any tips, leave them in the comments. Follow along. This is going to be a learning adventure. But, you know, right now for an old scope, I'm pretty happy with this. All right, guys. Have a great day. Adios. Okay, that was just my, you know, quick first really doing anything with the motor, so it's good to get to use it. This is kind of how I want the diagnostic cart to be, you know, just all with diagnostic tools on it. It's so much easier whenever it's you know, available to you that easy. You've got some of these magnetic hooks that you could hang leads on. Got the OBD2 connectors on it like that, and got a power strip in it. Keep my lights on it to keep them charged. Everything like that, but like I'm going to keep the Modus in the bottom. There's another one. There's a number of them leads, just in case you're, you know, running the same problem. This is what you need to use your, you know, your standard, anything you have that for a scope that uses a BNC. If you want to convert it to the banana jacks. But this is going to stay in that drawer because nothing could beat H-scope for the speed. And that's why I have it right here. This and the tablet on the side cart. I mean, it's going to beat the Modus in speed every time. And I really like the pinch to zoom features. I like a lot of things about this scope, but this is going to be the one that's built for speed. But playing around with this is going to be one of them ones where you're searching for a problem. You got a lot of research to do, or you need more than 2 channels. The Modus and, you know, the big screen. I do kind of like live data on this, but the Autel, it's an MP808. It's fast, you know, even faster. I got a Harbor Freight to ZR13. This is the fastest code reader. If you're just looking for why the engine light's on, this is the fastest. The Autel, it's a little bit slow. This is a little bit bulky for me to hook up right now, especially with no battery. So it's going to be the last resort when I really need to see, you know, more than 2 PIDs that the Autel gives me. So it's much older in the Autel. It's not as up to date. It gets me to the 14.5 update. So I could do up to 2014 with it. And that's pretty cool. That's most of the cars I work on. But this is going to be a work in progress. You know, I've seen a lot of diagnostic carts out there. Nobody wants to see a video on how you put everything in the same cart. But, you know, any ideas that you guys got to save space, something that's neat to have, like I show you these magnetic hooks. Harbor Freight has a lot of things that you could put on the side with your gloves, things like that. But, you know, it's a pretty neat cart for that. That should have everything I need in it. So follow along. You're going to see it built. You're going to see some things come. You're going to see some things go as I, you know, hone in on what I'd like to. All right, thanks for watching, guys.